Welcome to the Bourbon Retriever. My name is Chris, and today we're reviewing the latest release from Maker's Mark, the Keeper's Release. How is it? Let's find out. So the Keeper's Release is the latest finishing product from Makers. They historically have done other finishing products, but they finished those out and then they transitioned to doing new finishes in this new bottle, which I love. I think this is a fantastic bottle, and Makers should keep using this for their finishing and limited releases, maybe in other bottles. I think this is a much better bottle than the older Makers releases. But this new release here, it's like a 5 release series. They originally had the Hearts release, now they have the Keepers release, and then there's gonna be 3 more after that. Historically, Makers with their finishing products, they basically do 2 different things. It's 10 French oak staves, 10 American oak staves, then 10 French oak staves again, and then 10 American oak staves. Well, they've kind of kept that same tradition so far. The first release, the Heart release, was 10 French oak staves, and then this bottle here, the Keeper's release, is 10 American oak staves. I am hopeful that the next 3 releases breaks the trend, because I am starting to get a little, I don't know if annoyed is the right answer, or just repetitive, or just like wanting something different from Makers. Like, don't get me wrong, finishes in French oak and American oak are the best finishes, in my opinion, of if you're gonna finish a bourbon. Like, all the wine stuff, rum, tequila, like those aren't great finishes. These are the proper woods to finish. But my issue is that they're using the same 2 finishes over and over again, and then just kind of changing the label. And it seems more of like, I don't know if they're trying to trick customers by keep constantly changing the label or whatnot, but it feels like they're doing like the same thing over and over again and not really mixing it up. So a little bit of backstory on this bottle. They've been naming each release after like a different process at their facility. The Hearts release was the distilling process. This Keeper's release is more for the maturation process, so the warehouses and whatnot. The Keeper's release starts out as a 6 to 8 year old Maker's Mark cast strength product. They have those on the shelf already, you can go get those, but what they do at that point is then they add 10 virgin toasted American oak staves into this. On their other finishing products, I think it's 9 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, 6 or 9 weeks is what they're typically finished for, but for this product they don't disclose how long it is. They say it's variable. This is a blended product, so maybe some of the barrels they use are much shorter, some are longer, but it was more of a blending process to get more of a consistent profile than maybe one-off picks you might get. This release is coming in at 109.2 proof. That is a great proof point, love that. But the price point on this is something I'm not as emphatic on. It's coming in at $75. These finishing series used to be a little bit cheaper. It's not a big price jump, but every time you just start creeping up a little bit, it just doesn't quite feel as much of a value buy as it used to be. It kind of makes sense, I guess, at $75. It's a 6 to 8 year product with some finishing on it, so that's kind of in the wheelhouse of what it should be. It's just, it is more expensive than the bottle used to be. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into the pour here and give some tasting notes on it and my opinions on, is this a bottle that you guys should go get? Got a little bit on the table here, but nah, not a problem. Cheers. So right off the bat, that Maker's spice is coming through. It's a very much of like a wood spice. You're getting that wood oak aroma on it, which you don't get on the other Maker's products. Like, I am not a big fan of the traditional Maker's Mark Shelfer, the 101, the cast strength. They have this off-putting to me Maker's weeded note to it that I just particularly do not enjoy. But when they go through this finishing process, a lot of times that Maker's funk disappears. This one has a little bit of it still on there, but it's not off-putting. It's like just almost more of like a rounded note with the experience instead of just being a very prominent note. But you definitely get that toasted oak note in there. It's a sweetness oak. It's not an aged oak. You can definitely tell it's like more of on the sweeter side of an oak, but that bacon spice is definitely coming through on the aroma too. Probably the most prominent note to me on this with that oak, but let's go ahead and jump into the palate. Yeah, the bacon spice definitely transitions to the palate. There's a lot of spice on this. You can almost convince me that it is a higher rye mash bill instead of a wheated mash bill with how much spice I'm getting on the palate there. But it's a very, again, sweet spice. With this toasted profile, you're getting a lot more of that sweet oak, almost chocolate, like cocoa sweetness there on the palate with that nice, rich spice note there. I am really enjoying this pour off the aroma and that first sip. Yeah, this is reminding me a lot more of like a 1910 because it has that higher proof point than like the Woodford Double Oak. That's much lower. I think it's like a 90 proofer. So you get that toasted oak from a 1910 with the proof behind it, but this has a lot more of that like spice in it than the 1910 does, which kind of does make it a more well-rounded pour. If you are into those sweet notes, you're probably gonna like 1910 more because it doesn't have that spicy finish to it. But if you're looking for a more complete drink, I think this is a more well-rounded drink so far than those 1910s. But yeah, going back to the aroma after drinking it, it is a very bold aroma. This is not a delicate aroma. Some bourbons, very much more kind of undertoned aromas, and you really have to search for notes. This one is like in your face with those oak notes. If I had one critique on this, it's probably the finish. I'm getting a little bit of a bitter note on the back of this. I don't know if it's like a bitter oak or if it's just a lingering of that spice, but I'm getting a little bit of bitterness on the back end, which is not a note I typically like in bourbons because it's kind of finishing it off on a bad note. And that's the last thing that you are tasting when you're drinking a bourbon, but it's not so off-putting to ruin the rest of the drink. Like, I'm really enjoying the front half and middle of this, but if I had to pick like one thing in this, it's the, I'm getting a little bit of a bitterness at the end. But yeah, there's a very rich coffee, espresso, chocolate note in the middle of this. Like, that is a very rich note. If you love those deeper, richer notes, this is definitely gonna be up your alley. I think this is a bottle that could actually do pretty well in blinds. For me lately, these Makers finishing products always kill it in blinds. I'll put it up against massive LE bottles and they routinely can stand up to it. They don't get the love drinking straight up. I don't know if it's a brand thing or just my inherent bias of not really enjoying the baseline Makers products, but 9 times out of 10 when it's in these finishing series bottles, they're good pours. But before I actually kill this bottle here, I can always pour more into it. But before I kill that, let's go ahead and see how this compares to the Heart Release, which to me was an amazing pour last year. I think it was actually better than the Cellar Age. So let's go ahead and see how it stands up to this latest release. But yeah, getting back story on this, it is the 10 Virgin French Oak. So basically the difference between these is, my understanding, it's the same cast strength going into it, same age. It's just finished in French Oak versus American Oak. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, I think I might just be more of a French Oak fan than American Oak, because a lot of times when you do American Oak finish, you're just making those oak notes so overpronounced, and it's not really balancing the original American Oak with the French Oak that you're adding in the finish, which makes it a much more complex and well-rounded drink. You're adding a lot more sweetness to that more darker, richer oak notes you get from American Oak. Yeah, that is a really good pour. Wow. Man, I forgot how good this is. It's like a butterscotch, caramel, buttery, toffee, just straight butterscotch is what I'm getting out of this. Wow, yeah, that is really good. Okay, let's go on the palate. Yeah, bright caramel, very sweet, nice. Just that's a nice drink. Wow, I could sit back and just kill that bottle. That's a really good drink. Wow, I forgot how good this is. I think I just really love the butterscotch note. That is a note that if it has it in a bourbon, I'm immediately in love. I've just fallen in love with that butterscotch note. I've noticed I get it on a lot of French Oak products. That's why the Bourbon French oak was so high for me last year because it was just perfection of the French oak finish. And my favorite double oak personally right now is the Pursuit double oak. And it's because they use French oak in the double oak. Almost all the other double oaking is American oak, like the Woodford, the 1910, but Pursuit does French oak, and I think they have the best double oak on the market right now. And this, the heart release doesn't have any of that bitterness on the back end, the tannic oak that you're getting from that double oak of the American oak. This is a very nice, smooth process through the whole drinking experience, and it just has a nice, lingering, great caramel, sweet note that just lingers on your tongue there. Yeah, that is just a nice, really nice sweet note. I think it comes down to, are you a sweet fan or an oak fan? If you love or traditionally more sweeter drinks, like thinking like E.H. Taylor, Buffalo Trace, you're probably going to like the French oak more, butterscotch notes. However, if you are a darker, richer oak fan and don't mind a little bit of bitterness in there, cocoa, chocolate, you are going to be all over the American oak finish. So I think these are both great drinks. My personal favorite is the French oak. I think this, to me, is a more superior drink to the Keeper's American oak. But I think that's just my personal preference on the Keeper's over that American oak. Yeah, those are both really good drinks. I think for me, I would 100% buy the last year's heart release, maybe even get, oh man, nah, I don't think I can get two of them just because there's so many French oaks out there. You don't need to be backing it up. But this, if you can still find the heart release, definitely buy that. I would buy this over the Keepers that just came out right now. I know it's probably gonna be hard because that was last year's release. You're not gonna see on the shelves. But for this new release, for me personally, it doesn't live up to the heart release, but it is a very different profile. If you like those oak notes, I think you're gonna enjoy the new Keeper's Release more. So that's my review of the Keeper's Release. But if you're enjoying this content before you head out, hit that subscribe button, that way you don't miss any of my future videos, and check out this video before you head out. And until next time, cheers.